Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of X-Men 97, Episode 3, Fire Made Flesh. Before I jump into my review, make sure to hit that sub button. I've reviewed every single episode of the original animated series, so you're going to want to check that out. And I also just interviewed Allison Seeley-Smith, who plays Storm, so check that out. We talk about the first two episodes of the show. So there are spoilers in this review, so it's your final warning. But this one was written again by Beau DeMayo, and this time written with Charlie Feldman and directed by Emi Yanimura. So what I'm loving about this show is in the intro sequences, there's always little surprises and little things you got to catch. But what was sad to me in the intro here was there was no Storm, sadly, no card at all for her. And what was wild is seeing Lilandra here really quick, slamming a dashboard, and Professor X is sitting behind her. That was really cool to see. And it was cool seeing a recreation here of when Scott lost Jean when she was Dark Phoenix. And I like they threw in a shirtless Gambit kissing Rogue really quick on the basketball court. That was really funny. Now, what was really cool is in the opening of this episode, they're actually playing a musical track that is from the original show. It's a little remixed, but besides the animated opening theme song that's so recognizable, this is one they snuck in there that is from the original series, so I thought that was really cool. Now, it's very cool seeing Madeline Pryor here, who is this clone Jean, touching the real Jean and seeing her memories that we saw these big moments from the original show. We even see the wedding when she married Scott. But we also see the recent past when Mr. Sinister made the clone of Jean in his lab. Now, what I love is everyone that Morph is changing into. This continues from the first two episodes into this episode. They've been killing it with Morph. I love when he makes his Jean Doe wisecrack and asks all in favor, and he turns into Spiral. And it's perfect because Spiral has all those hands to vote yes. Really clever here. And I love Spiral, so it was cool to see her here. I love anything Mojo World, so it just got me excited. So Beast is the one who figures out that the real Jean Grey is on the couch, and the one standing, it's been with them, is a clone. But she's rightfully upset that no one believes her that she's the real Jean Grey because she's not in on this. She doesn't know this either, this information. And she tells Scott Storm would have believed me, and she takes the baby. Now, what was so clever is to have Mr. Sinister's entrance on the baby monitor. That was so chilling. He sounds so much like Jigsaw. It's really great. He goes, most prefer to me as Mr. Sinister, but you can call me Father. And they're having so much fun with the eyes in the dark, which was so cool about Mr. Sinister. They did that a lot in the original series. And he basically breaks the news to her that, yeah, it's true, you're not really Jean Grey, and I created a clone for her son, basically. And he's like, every cell in you belongs to me. Your mind, your body, you have no choice. And then he takes over her mind. And you see in that moment, she throws the X-Men photos, throws her old uniform, everything that is dear to Jean. And the colors of her powers here at Goblin Queen, this whole sequence was beautiful. The animation here was incredible with everything with the Goblin Queen, and that will continue on later when she fights Magneto, which we'll get to. And she's got the diamond on her forehead like Sinister. I love it. And her costume looks great. We've seen this in the action figures coming out for the show. And Beast downstairs connects the dots that it's Sinister who is clone Jean. I love how he explains only Sinister will be able to do this. And Morph has a pretty cruel joke on Gambit here, showing on the Danger Room schedule that Magneto and Rogue basically have it booked for the week. But what's crazy is after this, my favorite sequence of the show so far is we get this X-Mansion horror show going on, and it was terrifying. And Sunspot even sees his mom in this monster, and the mom is calling him a mutant freak, so that's gonna be interesting to see his backstory more. And Gambit sees Rogue and Magneto together. Magneto is naked and Rogue is in her Savage Land outfit when she's in the comics, and she's involved with Magneto, so this was a great callback, and it looks cool to see that outfit on Rogue. And they blend together so creepy. Like I was saying, how the blood on Cyclops' face in the first episode was just hitting that line where they could go in how the tone is and how dark it can get, but that I think is even passed by the blending of the body here. I thought that was really scary for a kid's show, so I'm impressed they're getting that in there. And what really hits is Morph here. This is where it's important to watch the original series because you feel it more, because Morph's whole life was ruined by Sinister. So I mean, he was traumatized completely and changed because of it, so him facing him is gonna mean more than anybody. And Cyclops here is haunted by this like teddy bear doll version of Professor X, and he's like, you failed to have a child with a proper wife, you failed to lead the team. And then what was amazing was to see Shard, who I had said in my previous review I love Shard, and to see her be what Bishop sees, and she's like, "You abandoned me, Bishop," which is obviously Bishop's sister. But Gambit has the best line at the end of the sequence where he runs out of the room and he goes, "Gambit can never unsee that." I laughed out loud at that. Now, what's crazy is they confront these Jabberwockies in the Inferno setting, and Bishop throws Wolverine into Beast. Now, this was a great running gag in the original series where they'd always kind of collide into each other in some way, and Wolverine always have a great line, and that doesn't change here. He says, "You smell like burnt hair." That was really good. And now I think the big nerd moment, where if we had the big nerd moment in episode 1 where Storm comes in and Scott says, "Give him the forecast," the moment here is when Cyclops charges up Bishop. So they're doing a great job of Cyclops being the leader and enhancing his teammates and letting their full powers shine and their awesomeness. And I love they said thanks to each other too. But Bishop has a line in the episode where he says, "Time for an exorcism, punks." This is just a crowd pleasing moment. It's awesome. And if for Bishop fans, like, get hype. And then the real Jean shows up and has a great moment, and she says enough, and I love the music for her. That was really cool. And she lifts them out of the Inferno, but they're greeted by the Goblin Queen here. And it's the first time we hear her say her title as the Goblin Queen, and tells them not to follow her and takes Cable. And they do a nice job of sneaking in a little exposition here with Morph talking about Sinister's backstory. Now, if you go back to the original series, right towards the end of the show, we actually got a full backstory episode. This is what he's alluding to, and it's definitely worth a watch here, especially if you're into Mr. Sinister. But he talks about he's a scientist from the 1800s, and he used DNA of mutants to prolong his life. That is what he does. And what makes it all tragic even more, and was such a nice touch by these creators, is morphing into the X-Men, the animated series look of Morph, in season 2 when he is possessed by Mr. Sinister. So Sinister puts baby Cable in this tank. It will be revealed later on in the episode that this is like a techno virus that is going to cause a big decision that clone Jean Grey and Cyclops are going to have to make, which we'll get to. But when the X-Men go after the baby, they are greeted by Madeline Pryor. Now, another show-stopping morph moment here as he morphs into Magic. What was amazing about seeing Magic is we only saw her as a child in the original series. We never saw her in an animated version in her full uniform and older. So this was really, really awesome to see. Now, I love the showdown between Magneto and the Goblin Queen here. And the animation when Magneto breaks the stained glass windows was beautiful. And again, mixing that with Madeline Pryor's powers was just unbelievable to me. It looked like you were really looking at a comic book. And I love Madeline's line, "Look at you, a villain playing dress up as a hero," to Magneto. That was really good. And when she kisses Scott, it does remind me of a little bit of Poison Ivy's kind of vibes with Batman. Now, I also like, on the other side of this, that Wolverine is encouraging the real Jean, triggering her memory back, and he's finally having this romantic moment with her, and of course it's interrupted by the thought of Scott in danger. Poor Wolverine. But what was so smart of this show to do was they had astral form Jean come. She was doing a Professor X, her teacher, who they're so close, those two. So I love that was kind of a callback to Professor X in its own way. And she says the great line, "Beast, please, my body won't be an issue." And now she faces Madeline. They go head to head. But see, Madeline's remember being Phoenix, which is interesting, in power, but Jean shows her a more important memory where she first met Charles, which I loved. And it's little her with her little Cyclops doll, which we've seen before in the Dark Phoenix saga. I love, she says, "They say I think too much," talking about her parents. And Charles says, "Don't worry, all I do is think too." It shows that bond they had from the start and how close they are and similar in their powers. And Ross Marquardt as Professor X, amazing. This guy is so good at voice acting. And I love the music in this scene too, spectacular. And it was really cool seeing the frames around Madeline Pryor here. And it was very cool they got that famous comic book cover in there of Scott holding a dead Jean Grey. And then it gets really trippy. And they did this in the original show anytime they did kind of like astral plane type sequences. And you see Jean swallows Maddie, and she sees the fetus of Cable and remembers having the baby. This was beautiful. It's a happy moment for her. And Jean has a great line to Madeline. "This is a living reminder of the purest love two people can share, and no one can take that away from you." And Madeline says, "This was the greatest moment of my life." And that is what snaps her out of this trance by Sinister. This was so good and great writing. So this will lead her to confront Sinister with Cyclops. And she's like, "You stay away from our son." But this is where they get the baby, And Beast is able to figure out what I was talking about, this technovirus strain, and it's trying to make him invincible is what Sinister was doing. But there's no cure in time for this, but there can only be one in the future, Madeline says. So this is where they look to Bishop. And he's like, I do know a guy there. So in your mind, you're thinking of Forge right away. But his time band has only got enough juice for the baby and Bishop. So this triggers Cyclops. This was so hard to watch. And he's like, I won't be like my father. I won't abandon my son. So if you watch the original series and you've seen the comics, obviously, Corsair is his father. And that's a whole tragic backstory for Cyclops. So this is why, of course, this would hurt him more than anybody. He would not want to do this to his son because he knows how that feels. And the shot of him seeing the baby through his visor and the Madeline saying, we said we would give him the best possible future. It's what we promised. Wow. Like, amazing. I did not expect this level of drama. This is so good. And Madeline has to let him go, and Cyclops can't even be a part of it, he says. It's just so sad. And they're doing the right thing, obviously, here, because it's going to make Cable have a better life. And she's like, you are perfect. We love you so much, and we owe you the best possible future. And that's one without us in it. Very heartbreaking and bittersweet here. Now, what's really interesting is when Madeline says to Jean, we don't really know when Sinister switched us who really was the Phoenix, who really married Scott. So let the theories go on that one. That's crazy to think about. Yeah, I don't know. That's just wild. You gotta remember, in the original animated series, Jean died in that Dark Phoenix saga, and then like she magically reappeared and it's never explained. So I feel like this is kind of them trying to figure out how to explain it. Maybe just leave it up for your own imagination. But I think they'll go more into that for sure. And I don't think it's the last time we're going to see Madeline Pryor. She's too cool of a character. But she says her next life will be mine. That's why she's moving on. And she says her real name for the first time. So she's owning that, which I really liked. And it was just beautiful with Scott looking at this broken photo of the family with her clone Jean, aka Madeline, and Cable. Just really sad, and sees the Jean he knew the most in the room from him from a little bit of a distance. I thought that was just beautiful, and to fade out on that. And that really felt like the end of the episode, because the next scene felt like a post-credit scene you'd see in an MCU show. And a really good one at that, because we go to this Dallas bar and we see Storm, the best. Look at that punk outfit she's in. That is so cool. And notice she doesn't have her earrings on, because remember in the last episode she left her earrings for Jean. But Forge shows up and is like, I would like to help you get back what you lost. And you're like, yes, let's get those powers back for Storm and get her back in the fold. But she's got the new outfit on like I predicted. I didn't know which one it would be, but seeing the punk one, really, really cool. I love that outfit, and it matches better with the mohawk than the other outfit did. So I'm giving this episode, with everything going on here, a 10. And I don't give 10s a lot to anything, but this was amazing. It was flawless to me. The animation was beautiful. The writing was spectacular. The action was great. The comedy in here was great. And it moved the story forward, and it made you more excited for what's to come next. But it added so much weight to these characters already. I loved it. It's a 10. It's one of the best episodes in the Giant show, including the original altogether. It's one of the best. Definitely top 5 for me. Let me know what you thought of this episode down below. I love to hear your thoughts. I read every comment. I try to respond as many as I can. Hit that sub button so you don't miss one of my reviews of X-Men 97. I'll also be doing more interviews as well. And I'll see you next time.